Hello YouTube, it's DasGregor and welcome back to another Linux review. This week I looked at an update to Uberstudent. Uberstudent is not your typical Linux distribution, as they have customized and geared their distro to students learning in the middle school, high school, and university area. It comes chock full of great resources and wonderful utilities to help out in just about every facet of learning. Now, some of you may remember that I looked at Uberstudent last year in May, June, I believe, somewhere around there, when it was version 3.0 Plato, and I have been looking since I started reviewing or doing second glances to see if there had been any updates to Uberstudent. And lo and behold, when I was on the distro watch this week, I found Uberstudent 4.0 Socrates and was very happy, if you can't tell already. Socrates, of course, is in a Ubuntu based distribution off of 14.04 LTS, and it sports the XFCE desktop environment to keep it clean, lightweight, and fast for just about any computer that's out there. Very good in those respects. It also comes in a 32-bit version and 64-bit version. Now, what makes Uberstudent stand out from the rest is they've done some great customizing to the distro. They've added some wonderful utilities that are very helpful. And if we go through just a few, for instance, that are on the main top status bar, you start off with LibreOffice Writer. You've got Zontero, which is a reference manager. You've got Freeplane to organize your thoughts. You've got a note-taking application called Cherry Tree, and it comes with Chromium and Firefox if you're not happy with Chromium, but that's there too. On this side, they have a few cool utilities, such as a can I say it? A thesaurus and dictionary, and I guess the rest of these are just your normal, typical sound, battery, network status, my simple screen recorder. There we go. Now, even though it is XFCE, it does have, they have built more of a GNOME 2.0 or 2.x look and feel with the way the applications, places, and settings are. And if we just kind of glance a little bit of applications, because I want to show you guys how much they have added to this distribution to make it that much more different than just a standard, okay, here's XFCE, here's all the same simple programs. You know how many reviews I've looked at of different distributions that you really couldn't, if you were to take distribution A compared to distribution B, compared to distribution C, it all looks and feels exactly the same. And you wonder to yourself, what makes this distribution better than another distribution when it's just the vanilla? You know, those developers here at Uberstudent have done an excellent job at making this a unique distro. Even the Windows look and feel, if I kind of bring GUVC, and I'm going off topic here, you know, I love this, you know, primary colors or red, green, blue, I guess, RGB, not really primary colors, those would be red, yellow, blue, but you know, the RGB look and feel, everything just looks cool, it looks great, it zips, it pops, you know, they've got these great backgrounds, and I'm back on topic as talking about some of these applications. So you're going to find some really good, pertinent applications that work well for most every student. And the great thing is, it's not just the ebook reader here, but for instance, they have the cloud reader for Kindle, and they've got the open library links and Project Gutenberg. Now, some of you guys might not know about Project Gutenberg, but Project Gutenberg is an excellent resource for public domain books. You can get them in text format, you can get them in Kindle format, Plucker format. If you still remember the old days of Palm when you could get a Plucker style e-reader, one of the first ones that I used on a smartphone. But the other cool thing about Project Gutenberg, at least this link here, is that what they're doing is using Chromium to create an application out of a website. Now, this is a really neat feature, and I did discuss this inside of one of my Gen 2 and review videos when I talked about how you can take different websites and turn them into applications. And I got that from learning here at Uberstudent back last year with the 3.0 version. I created and talked about Gutenberg Project and LibriVox. And if you're not familiar with LibriVox, LibriVox is a volunteer group and that takes books that are in the public domain and people read them and create an audio version of that book. It is awesome for those who are on the go and don't have the time to actually sit there and read. Maybe you're in your car traveling for hours on end, to be able to get these books. And the nice thing is, have you seen where they say, oh, we've got an audio version of this public domain book and it is a computer language that is reading in a monotone voice and you really don't really know what it's saying because it all sounds the same. There's no voice inflection. That's enough. But yeah, it's horrible when you actually read or are listening to something that's been computerized instead of just somebody taking the time to read the book, which I think is great with LibriVox. If we continue with the things that make Uberstudent stand out, you will also see that they have a lot of different things. They've also categorized, if you'll notice, everything's in here in different categories. They have lots more all in here. Now, one negative thing, of course, about putting everything in a folder is you got to keep digging down to each folder to get to stuff. But for the most part, it makes it a little bit easier if you're not familiar with what you're looking for. Yeah, and this is another great feature. This actually comes with personal finances with the Mint Personal Finance Manager. Now, there's also KMyMoney and New Cash and a few others that are out there that you could install, but I think it's great. I mean, a lot of distros I've looked at don't even have that as a default, being that they're in there. So, and you'll notice that each one of these has different resource tabs that talk a little bit more and bring up more items that are possibly available and may be beneficial to a student. And we have all of these, of course, here. And each one you'll see that they even point out to web apps, documentation, etc. All of this is available. Great applications for any student. The other thing you'll notice is that they each have their own little extra education apps, extra internet apps, extra graphics apps, etc. And as we all know, of course, every student needs to take off some steam and get away from the books. And of course, it has its own games, a few here and there, mostly logic, learning type games that are on there. Of course, you can always get more, and Steam is available with Uberstudent. Now, the only thing that I have installed is the GUVC viewer. Everything else that you're seeing is default with this. I haven't had to put anything else on here. As I remind you, it did come with Chromium and Firefox. Pretty much anything and everything that you would ever need to be able to use the OS has already been installed, organized, and is ready to use. I'm very impressed with all of this. They've even installed Simple Screen Recorder as part of their distribution, which I love. Simple Screen Recorder. It's great that it's there. It's been one of the best screen capture programs that I have used, and just so much to offer. Let me tell you, everything is great. Now, another nice thing about this is that they have their own repositories for things that they have deemed specific for Uberstudent, and a little bit easier to whittle through the thousands of applications that are out there. But you still have, of course, a Synaptic Package Manager that will allow you to get to the Ubuntu repositories and install just about anything else that might not be available within Uberstudent. Uberstudent is very easy to configure, and if we go into the settings area here, you will see that typical XFCE interface, and you can get to just about anything that you would need to customize for your student or for yourself right here. Easy to look up, easy to use. I have been very impressed with Uberstudent, and if I haven't mentioned, because I've done a lot of different takes on this, I love the way they've designed their windows. You know, here for instance, where you've got all the buttons, they're using that RGB effect, you know, red, green, blue, and the colors, the look and feel, everything is just sharp and to the point. I love a distribution that actually takes the distro, embraces it for what they want it to be, and takes out the vanilla look and feel that I get so tired of seeing many different times. All in all, Uberstudent Linux for Learners has been a great distro to use this week. I've been very happy with it. I hope someday that it will continue this, so that when my kids are old enough to get to where they could use this, I can put this on there, because the utilities are very valuable and very useful, very helpful. And right now my kids use Queasy because it's simple to install, wonderful and easy for them to use, and they mostly just use it right now for internet browsing for school and games. Really, it's more about the games. They love to play Minecraft on it. But eventually, when they get more serious, I mean, right now they're only in the 4th and 1st grade, but pretty soon they're going to need something that's a lot better, and Uberstudent, in my opinion, is that distribution for them. Thank you very much for watching, whether it's morning, evening, noon, or night, whatever you're having. I hope you enjoy it. Thank you for all your support. Thank you for the subscribes. Thank you for the messages and everything else. I do try to do these all in my free time, and my work has gotten a lot more hectic with layoffs and such. I am pretty much now the only IT support for my company, which, despite the idea that it's supposed to be a 40-hour work week, I never can guarantee that those 40 hours aren't done in the first 3 days or first 4 days of the week based upon a workload. So it's a little bit more difficult right now for me to be able to do these, because I have to install these in my free time, in my evenings, and work with them, and I want to make sure I'm giving you guys a good review of the OS, and not just, oh, there it is, it's installed, there you go, there, wham bam, let's move on to the next one. Yeah, so I've been a little nervous to tackle some of the more advanced OSs like I did last year. I had some free time. I did Crux in a week, and Crux was one of the more difficult because, you know, it's source-based, much like Gentoo, and I had to install everything from scratch. The problem was most of the links to the software were incorrect, and I had to do all kinds of other stuff just to make it work. And yet I was able to get it installed within 2 to 3 days in the evening and still be able to give you guys a good review of it. At least I feel it was a good review. So I guess what I'm just trying to say is thank you for all your support during this time of transition for me personally. I appreciate everything that you guys do as a great, wonderful Linux community. So until next time, have a great one, and thank you again. Bye, guys.